Champagne.
It's not champagne.
It's not champagne.
I promise.
Bang or a whistle.
Anticlimax. I've done all the performance pieces, all the fitness stuff, and I was in the top 2, like doing really well. And he said, right, Ken, ideally, I'd like you to be about 5 or 6 centimetres taller. And I was like, okay, well, I'll work on that. I'll do my best. Obviously, there's like a billion rules again. But getting your elite license through British Cycling is probably the most attainable thing, or closest to being a pro that most people can have access to.
Welcome to an evening adventure on the Bun Beard vlog in Calpe.
Currently ascending a 12% gradient hill.
Currently walking up a hill. Why are we walking up a hill, Jessica?
We're going to find Kenny Bun Beard.
Why are we going to find Kenny Bun Beard?
I'm going to grill him.
We're going to interview him.
I mean, interview him kindly. About...
Kenny Bun Beard. What is he?
Kenny is elite.
He's an elite athlete.
He's an elite athlete.
So we're going to go have a chat with him about what that means and how he got there and how he stays there. Just as one caveat, we'd like to mention we are not elite athletes, nor are we capable of being elite athletes or have designs to be elite athletes.
We're hobbyists.
Maybe Ken will tell us why.
Sure you will.
Right, come on then.
Okay, so Kenneth, Boom Boom, as we sip our evening ciders.
Yes, just a small glass.
A small glass of evening cider. Topic today is being an elite athlete, being an elite bike rider.
Yes.
What does it take? How do you get there? How do you stay there?
Yeah, I got my elite in 2017.
2017?
Yeah, so I started riding in 2010. So it took me a while to get to that point. I didn't initially set out to go, right, I'm getting my elite license. I started off as a rower, right? So I swapped sports because of a back injury. So I rode not quite full time. I was full time for 6 months as a rower. So it was like talent ID thing for pre-2012 Olympics. A thing called Sporting Giants, where they basically put it out there saying if you're really tall, kind of sporty, come up there at rowing, we'll see if you're any good. What they do is they just chuck a load of people at it. They go, if you're really tall, you're really fit and strong, we'll just chuck you in a boat, put you in this little squad and train you and see who sinks or swims, basically. Rowing is very much you do the program, and if you survive, then you get in the board, get in the GB team, basically. Nice. And the make or break of most people in rowing is when they get a back injury, can they rehab and come back into the boat? It's not really a question of are you going to get an injury or not. It's when you get your back injury, can you come back to the sport? It's really hard on the lower back. You know what? I'll stop. It's career time. So when I got a job and sort of switched sports, but I drifted around for a little bit first. So I started cycling and tried every discipline. Tried time trial, crits, road racing, just sort of did a bit of everything. And then at the end of 2010, I ended up signing up for an Ironman triathlon. So then spent a year sort of training for that and did that. And then 2012, I sort of went back to cycling and thought, right, I'm a cyclist trying to do triathlon here rather than I'm a triathlete. Just scrap the swimming and the running.
Ditch those bits.
And then started taking cycling a little bit more seriously. So that was when I started with the aim of like, right, I'm going to see if I can move my way up through the ranks. Sort of forced my way onto a race team from a local bike shop. Got involved in a few races in 2012, did okay at some local crits, and then 2013 was when I started first doing like National B level races.
2013, okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I did the regional champs in 2013 and got top 10, came 9th in that, and that was like, right, let's give this a crack. wasn't really that interested in sport at all until someone came along and dangled a carrot in front of me, a gold medal. Like, you might be able to do this. That's when I went, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Because I didn't have a background in endurance sport. I'd done a bit of rugby at school, and I did extreme sports. I did like rollerblading and parkour and all this kind of stuff. It's not endurance based at all. So the hardest thing for me was going from messing about on the rowing machine for a few hours a week to 20 hours of training. In one go. Overnight. So looking back on it in hindsight, I was massively overtrained.
But would you say you're competitive now, or is it more like competitive with yourself? Like, how far can I take myself more than can I beat everyone else?
I really like the challenge of getting better at something. I like to see progress. I like to be able to do something that I couldn't do before and that other people can't do. I've always liked that kind of thing.
This speaks to your profession as a coach. That knits together quite nicely.
Go back to like growing up, I was an only child, and I would spend all my time like practicing little hobbies like juggling or golf or like all sorts of stuff.
Little hobbies like golf. Someone just took mortal offence to that somewhere.
Little fun things. But like the stuff that you commit time to it and you'd end up getting really good at it. I've always really enjoyed that. And I think cycling rewards that really nicely because it's so measured. Like with your power and your heart rate and time up a climb or time over a time trial distance. It's really definitive whether you are better or not. So within the British cycling system, the road racing, time trials and track, they have a points-based system based on where you finish in various different races. So the races are all banded 1 through 5, 1 being the most points, 100 points for a win. Band 5 being the least, 10 points for a win. Everyone starts as a 4th cat. To get your 3rd cat license, you need 12 points. And then to get your 2nd cat, you need 40 points. To get your 1st cat, you need 200 points. And your elite, you need 300 points. And along the way, the points reset when you get your next license. So you've got British Cycling, and then you've got the UCI, which is the international governing body for cycling. If you are competing in UCI sanctioned events, you could be considered a professional. That's professional level racing. You don't have to be pro to do those. It doesn't automatically you don't get like a pro card or anything like that. But the way that they operate is that particular teams are invited to those races. So the team itself is a big part of the structure of being a pro. So for a team to be considered a professional team, they have to apply for that license from the UCI and they have to meet certain criteria in order to do that. And there's three tiers. The bottom one, continental level, there's no minimum salary. You don't have to be paid. The pro tour, there is a minimum wage that you have to be paid. It's not a lot, but if you're on a pro tour team, you would be considered a professional. And that's where I would draw the line, if you've been paid to do it. Getting your elite license through British Cycling is probably the most attainable thing, or closest to being a pro that most people can have access to. Because unless you get invited onto a team, there ain't another way of getting there. No, I've always had to work to pay the bills. But in various different jobs. At the minute, that's full-time coaching, and it is full-time. I have flexibility in my working hours, so I can train during the day, but I'm self-employed, run a business. It links back to the number of points required to get there. So if you think back to what I said about the different bandings, you've got the band 5 race, which is 10 points for the win. If you're going to get 300 points, you've got to win 30 races. No one wins 30 races.
No.
So you need to compete at a higher level in order to score enough points to get that 300.
Sure.
So if you were to go up to like a Band 2 race, which is 60 points for the win, it's a National B level race, everyone else has got the same idea. Stronger people turn up, they're longer, they're faster. So to get you 300, you've got to be competitive at that level against all the people that are at First Cat and Elite. So you need to be getting top 10s in those National B races in order to, over the course of a year, rack up 300 points.
Just to caveat this slightly, you've said it's 300 points to get there, but am I right in saying it's 300 points to stay there every year?
Yeah.
So once you've got there, it's not like it's you to get a bit of a break.
No. So some of the other categories on the way up, there is a lower amount of points to retain your license.
Yeah.
So First Cat, you need 200 points, then the next year you only need 100 to keep hold of it. But there is a big leap to get that 300 points.
Sure.
And it's quite common actually for people to go from Second Cat to First Cat and then come straight back down again. I tend to think in terms of weekly hours.
Yeah.
And you're talking like a minimum of like 12 hours. There's not many people that can maintain that elite status on much less than 12 hours a week, unless they've got a really long history of doing it, or they're really crafty. If you're like on the way up, you need a certain volume of training to step up to that level to get that elite license, because the races get longer.
Yeah.
You're then racing for 3 hours plus.
What's a typical National B length race? 130k?
I think it's 75 miles. Yeah, so that extra hour of racing, like runners doing a marathon, everyone is quite familiar with the concept of hitting the wall.
Yeah.
So after 2 hours, you run out of your stored energy, you bonk, you just can't move anymore, and that's it, game over. That's similar in cycling when you go from that regional A to National B level. So the races go from 2 hours long to 3 hours long. So if you've been burning matches for 2 hours and you're completely dead and empty at the end of a 2 hour race, you're not going to be able to carry on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So not only do you need to be fitter, stronger, lighter, you need to be more efficient along the way. You need to be saving energy. So that's the biggest advantage that someone without a job that's training full time gets. It's not the fact that they've got the time to train more. It's the fact that they can recover more. The guys training full time are putting their feet up. So in terms of sacrifice for those people working, it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice of other things that could potentially affect that recovery, because you need to recover from that amount of training whilst you're doing your job.
Yeah.
So like nights out, holidays, things like that, going and socialising in the evening, staying up late, all of those things.
Yeah.
You will perform better on the bike if you make the sensible choice for your cycling.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to if you want to get to that elite level. Yeah, so the team is a big part of it. So it's a team sport, but there's individual winners. And the team is a huge part of getting you to that point. So the higher up the rankings you go in terms of how difficult the races are, the more organised it becomes in terms of teamwork. And it's really hard as an individual racer to compete against teams that have more people than you.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game. If you've got that numerical advantage, it's always going to work in your favour.
Yeah. And are they better organised, some of them as well, and things like this?
You know what, at National B level, a little bit, but it's not like professional racing where there's a set formula to it, and the brake goes up the road, and then eventually the teams put people on the front and work the brake back in. It's not as organised as that, but there is a case of if you're in a breakaway and there's 2 or 3 teammates and you're just the only person there on your team, it's going to be much easier for the people that are in team 3 to make sure their team wins. So there is a big advantage if you want to move up the rankings to being in a strong environment, purely because they are generally more organised. They'll get you to bigger, better races, and it's just going to help you. Like, as much as you work for someone else, it's going to work in your favour just as much. Don't get distracted by all the free, shiny new things.
Which is easy to do.
Exactly. But you're much better off going for a team that has a good race calendar,
Yeah.
willing to drive you up and down the country to go to the National Junior Series races and do trips abroad, trips to Belgium on the weekends, rather than a team that gives you lots of free things but wants to keep you racing locally in order to promote the local sponsor, because you'll end up as a big fish in a small pond. I first rode with them in 2017 at the Mallorca Masters Challenge, and it was really my first experience of riding for a particular person. And going into a race going, right, here's our nominated leader, we're riding for him, here are the goals, and we sat down in the evening and had a pre-race meeting, went through the course and what we're all going to do and all of that stuff, and it was really cool.
Nice
Environment with all the Noon Sigma Sports guys. It was really good, and they got a lot of success off the back of that. So we won the overall, we won the sprint jersey, I won the Europa Trophy, which is like the European Masters road race. So
wow.
we got a lot of wins throughout that week because they were really organised, they knew what they were doing, had the experience and the strength to back that up. And it was just a really good environment to be a part of. So
Nice.
I eventually ended up joining the team because of that experience.
Oh, cool.
Because there are less women cyclists in general, does that make it harder or easier to like move through the ranks and become an elite cyclist? Like in another sport, say running for example, if there are less women and you run quite quick, you could be the best woman out of that smaller pool. So in cycling, is there a similar thing, or is it more difficult because there aren't as many women riding maybe at high levels?
I think over the last couple of years, the women's cycling at the grassroots level has got a lot better. There's more races, there's more girls participating. I'm coaching a lot more girls now than I was a couple of years ago, so there's been there's been a big bit of growth there, which is great, and they're all moving through the rankings, getting up to that second cap point. But what I've seen over the last year or so is those girls that have got to second cat have sort of tried to make that next step and seeing that they're now racing full-time elite racers, and they're starting to see, okay, so if I want to make that next level, I've got to make certain decisions in my life in order to commit the time and the hours in order to get to that level. So I think just like in men's cycling, they're having to make that same decision, but because there's less participation, just in terms of numbers, that gap is even more apparent.
They're making that decision sooner in their bike riding. They're making it as a second cat as opposed to kind of getting up to first.
Sooner. In men's cycling, there's a lot of second cats, there's a lot of first cats, and there's quite a few elites. But in women's cycling, there's sort of a lot of fourth cats, third cats, second cats, and there are not many first or elite. So it's more obvious on the approach to that. That sort of the gulf from being a good amateur to an elite is quite large, and there's not as many people in like filling up those gaps, so you can't have a nice steady progression over years. You have to make this huge leap going from like a competitive amateur to being able to hang with the big girls.
How many races do you say you do a season?
Good question. Probably 30?
30.
I'd say about 30 races.
Are you one of those riders that cares about the weather coming into a race? Do you look at the sky and think, oh, I'm going to get absolutely soaked for 3 hours here? Or do you prefer that? Other riders might be thinking that and you're willing to grit your teeth and get stuck in.
I don't like wet, cold races. I don't generally do particularly well when it gets cold. So I will just wear loads of kit. I've had a couple of DNFs because of the cold.
Really? Yeah.
But each of these races is so important that you kind of just have to crack on with it if it's bad weather.
What is your what's the achievement you're most proud of as an elite racer?
I probably haven't done the thing that I'm going to be most proud of. So I've been trying to win the National B race. Since that first one I did in 2013, when I came 9th, I was like, right, I want to win one.
Okay.
I've been top 10 in National Bs over a dozen times now. I've been second 4 times.
Wow.
And in the last 2 seasons, when I've come second in a National B, the person that's beaten me has been on a UCI Conti team.
Okay.
So I'm at this point where like, I'm only really, when I'm on a good day and of course it suits me, I'm only really getting beaten by professional riders.
Full-time professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the year?
Win. Oh, I'm going to try it, but I've been saying that for the last 3 years. Like that in Masters champs, you probably could consider that a National B win, but it was in Mallorca and wasn't categorised as such. But that was a big win. The Masters National Champs, that was great to win a national jersey. The land speed record stuff that I've done, got a British land speed record, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Average.
Yeah, that's all fun stuff, but the thing I've been really focused on for the last few years is getting that National B win.
Just bunch finish, you kicking at the line, or getting in a breakaway and staying away?
I'm a bit of an all-rounder, you know. I generally get my best results from a sprint. Yeah. But I wouldn't consider myself a sprinter.
Interesting.
I can go really fast for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider myself a punchy sprinter, massive peak power kind of guy. But I'm also not really on that other end of the spectrum, like the good climber, the all-day breakaway kind of guy. It's a bit of an all-rounder.
Do you have any rituals? Pre-race?
Rituals?
Yeah, like a thing you always wear or always eat, or turn around and do 2-star jumps or anything?
Nothing superstitious that I do before races. I have a have a series of things that I go through on the approach to a race and the days coming up to it, like eating loads of carbohydrates.
Sensible.
Tubeless or tubes?
Yeah, we're tubeless.
Yeah.
We've been running tubeless and disc wheels for a couple of years now.
Nice.
Love it.
Love it?
Yeah.
Is there anything you sacrifice now where when you're kind of doing it, you're like, at some point I will be able to do this thing or have this thing again, like once I've achieved my main goal?
Yeah.
Once you've hung up your boots,
Yeah.
what are you most looking forward to putting back on the table?
The thing that I'm now I'm sort of 10 years into this. The thing that I'm starting to get sick of is spending a long time on the bike. You have to put enough hours in, and I don't like riding my bike for a long time. I'm not a fan of it. I'd much rather get to the same level of fitness in 10 hours than in 20 hours.
Yeah. Does it help that your partner is a bike racer as well?
Yeah, it really does, because Ali appreciates how much time I have to put into it in order to get where I want to be, And
my last question is, I know you are a big aero geek, might be the affectionate way of putting it. What's your favourite kind of aero part of your kit or bicycle or whatever that you wouldn't ride without? What's your favourite kind of part of the setup?
So I would say I really appreciate the importance of aerodynamics in the sport that we do.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, having a good skin suit is number one.
Interesting.
It makes the biggest difference.
So that was Ken, and he coaches me and George, but he's also the co-sponsor of Jam Cycling Race Team, so we've got a lot of respect and time for Ken. But I think we often think of him as coach and sponsor and almost forget that he's an elite athlete in his own right, and he's squirreling away all these hours on the bike himself as well as coaching all of us. So I hope you found this interesting and in a what's the word I'm looking for?
Insightful? Inspiring?
Inspiring insight into what it takes to really be at the top of your sport, and that's a lot of commitment. Thanks for watching. Please like our videos, subscribe and comment on them. We do read all your comments and we try and answer everything, in videos to come, so we appreciate you watching and see you next time.